What are you drinking there?
I got vodka and cranberry ginger ale.
Wow, that's funny. I almost had a vodka and cranberry, and I have some ginger ale. I wonder if I could have mixed them all for the same effect.
The same transparency level.
It seems like something you would do when you're like 20.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna go with a little rye that I've had sitting here for a while. Figure why not?
Yeah, that's out of my league.
See how this goes, huh?
Yeah.
I'm not. That's not necessarily in my league. You know, maybe that's why I haven't drank a lot of it. But.
I was gonna say, yeah, it's that's. I think the last time I drank anything like whiskey or rye or anything was probably PJ's in, I don't know, 2006 maybe.
Wow.
Yeah, I can't drink that stuff anymore.
Yeah, I don't know now since we don't go out anywhere, for stuff. But yeah, I feel like the age has affected me now more than ever. So this is like a rare occasion. I'll check back with you tomorrow.
Yeah. It'll be in the afternoon.
Yeah. Well, cheers, man. It's funny because this is like another episode where you're not actually in my class, and I've only done, I think, one other episode like this with Derek Cataldo. But what's funny is that like we kind of like mutually like connected and decided to do the show. But with this, like I just kind of sought you out, and there was a specific reason, more so tied into like with you and work and like starting your own business and what you're doing, that I thought was really, really interesting. That when I started this podcast, I talk about the different people that I would love to talk to.
Yeah.
And besides, the people that I had problems with, or the girls that had crushes with.
Yeah, that was an awesome episode.
Like besides that, are like, what are people doing with like work and careers? And I see, you for like the last year or two, I've been seeing what you've been posting on Facebook and kind of following the progression, especially over the last year or so. And I was really, really interested, how you got to that point. So I thought, it's kind of an excuse, really. It's more of on a selfish way for me to awkwardly be like, hey, man, what's your story? This gives me an excuse to do it, No,
that's awesome. It really is. I enjoy like the thought process you had with this podcast. I think it's an amazing concept. I think the thing I was most excited about was like the awkwardness, but not the awkwardness. Like you've described in the past, like it's a weird feeling because Brad, we grew up together for sure, a couple grades apart.
Yeah.
But we don't hang out. We don't see, and so there is a dynamic there that is untapped, and it's a very cool concept for sure.
Thanks, man. It's fun, and as you're talking about, like, we weren't in the same grade and we never really talked in high school. I knew of you and we'll talk about like the ways, like, one specific way that our lives intersected. I don't even know if you even know about it. But it's interesting to be able to, find this connection just really through the aspect of high school is the only thing that like connects us. But for some reason we were still Facebook friends. And like you said, kind of like that, I don't know, maybe I called it like awkward city in that last episode. Yeah. But like, like it is kind of like awkward. And I think that's why when we were younger, we don't do it. We're afraid to tackle that awkwardness.
Yeah. Yeah. And it almost makes you like a better communicator for sure. I mean, even when you in the work world, you have to have these awkward conversations when you're networking or talking to your accountant or whatever it is. And it's just a cool concept because but we do have so many things that me and you can relate to growing up, where we grew up, where we went to, who your friends were, who my friends were, and how they were, mutual friends of friends. It's an interesting dynamic.
So what year did you actually graduate?
2000.
2000. Okay. So it was the year right before us. When did you come into Wissahickon? Did you start off in Wissahickon?
I moved to Wissahickon when I was in third grade.
Okay.
So I went to Mattison Ave. I lived in Seattle, Washington from kindergarten to second grade.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. That was an interesting experience. I was very young, obviously, I don't remember a ton about the city,
Yeah.
but I do remember certain things. They have a floating bridge out there that's really cool, and the city was very clean. Transportation was awesome over there. Yeah, but it was fun living in the Pacific Northwest for 3-4 years.
What brought you to Philadelphia suburbs?
My mom had a boyfriend in this area, and so we moved to Ambler, and that was the connection. That was the connection, and she knew him from, I don't know, I forget what it was, high school or something like that. So she moved us, me and my brother, to Wissahickon or Ambler, and ever since then been an Ambler rat since then.
So you started at Mattison Avenue like I did with Wissahickon.
Yeah.
For 1 year.
For 1 year. 1 year, got to put the flag up and down a couple times. I was pretty excited about that.
At Mattison?
Yeah. There's do you remember the old gym teacher, Mr. Oh man, what was his name?
Man.
He was the basketball coach, and he was also, I think, the custodian at Mattison Avenue.
Oh, Mr. Lyles?
Maybe. I don't know, but I got to put up a flag a couple times. It's pretty exciting.
Yeah, Mr. Lyles.
Yeah. I think there were safeties back then too. You had to wear the orange stripes.
Yeah. Were you a safety?
No.
Okay.
No, they were. I wasn't good enough kid to be a safety. But I think I was good friends with the janitor for some reason. I think me and him hit it off. And,
I remember Mr. Lyles. Yeah. I definitely remember him like from the basketball. Like there was an Ambler league. It was this weird, like Ambler really only had a baseball league, like a legit baseball league. And then there was like this half-ass basketball league that we were all a part of, right? At Mattison. And the gym was like, you know, the gym in Fresh Prince of Bel-Air where it's like, it looks like there's 2 rows of people and they're playing, like the fans are on the court basically because it's so small. That's what ours was, but there was a stage at the end of it.
Oh my God. That is hilarious. Wasn't that the cafeteria?
It was also the cafeteria.
What? Talk about oh man, that's hilarious. I can't believe you remember that. And you just made me think about that. It reminds me of like a really big mansion. If someone had a basketball court inside their house.
Yeah. It's like where Dwight Howard rents for the season.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember the underneath? There was like an underneath way. So like the entrance was over here with that little tiny parking lot right in there. And the playground was over on this side. I hope it looks that way, or if it's reversed. I don't know if this looks right to you, and then there was like a wall, but down below the wall was like a tunnel. You could go like walk along this wall, but there was also a building. It looks like a little parking garage, but it was just a fenced in area that you could walk underneath, right?
They caged us in there. There was a cage. It was the cage to keep anything under 6 years old inside that cage.
And it was it was like the raining recess.
Yes. And it was still musty, and there's definitely moss in the corners. It was slippery as hell. Like it was a safe place. It was concrete or probably macadam or pavement or something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe the square. Did they have the squares painted? The little bounce ball game you could play
in the court on in like the playground area.
Yeah,
I feel like there were like hopscotch in because I think we used to line up.
Yep.
Yeah. And then how old's your brother?
My brother is he's 48, so he's way older.
Oh wow. So so he was like in high school when you guys moved. Graduated.
Yeah, well actually basically he was, and actually he stayed in Seattle for an extra year with my mom's aunt lived out there. My aunt lived out there. And so that's who we went and stayed with and bought a place out there. But my brother stayed for the last year of high school in Seattle.
Okay.
We moved back here. He stayed out there for the 1 year and then moved back with us.
Do you have any memories of the difference when you're coming out here versus the West Coast, even if you don't have specific memories about Seattle? Do you remember just like the feeling of coming? So you probably don't even realize how far it is. Everything probably feels far, but.
Well, when we moved out there, we actually drove out there with my dad. He drove us out there in a old, what was the yellow rental company? I forget, but I think it was a U-Haul. I think U-Haul before they changed, they branded. And it took us 7-8 days to get out there. We saw Yellowstone. We saw Redwood Forest. We saw a lot of cool stuff. I remember, you remember bits and pieces of it all the way through. I remember Yellowstone. Oh, it must have been, I forget what year. I mean, early to late 80s. But Yellowstone was on fire for like 3 years. And we drove through it, and only a quarter of the park was open.
Oh, wow. Sounds like today.
Yeah, really. Everywhere is on fire or under 3 feet of ice or whole
West Coast.
The whole and the East Coast. I mean, first 10 miles is gone pretty soon.
So you come back then when you're third grade? What's that? 8?
8, I think 8, 9 years old.
Yeah. And just you and your mom.
Just me and my mom for the first year. Then my brother came back. It was fun though. It was fun because we took a train when we moved back. We took a train back, so that was a relaxing experience. Very cool. Very cool to take the train back.
How long is that? Do you remember? You don't remember that time, right?
No. I mean, it could have been. I think I would guesstimate 5-6 days, something like that.
Wow. I don't know if I could do. I like road trips, but I don't know if I could do a train, like not on my own accord.
Yeah. I don't know if I liked. I was too young. I don't know if I liked it or not. Maybe I was a terror. Maybe my mom wanted to, tie me up or something. I don't know.
I remember taking a car ride to Boston when I was like 10. And it took like 6 hours, 7 hours. And I just remember listening to like Criss Cross, like four songs on the tape over and over again. Yeah,
the tape for sure.
So who were your friends then when you come into Ambler? Who are you hanging out with?
Steve Newman a lot. I mean, that was my closest friend. It's still to this day my best friend. So Steve, Danny Capalella, the Mastramatos, Dominic, all those guys. We all played at Pickering Field together. Theo Thompson was close with me. You got all the Brosnan, all those guys, But the young crowd was really Steve Newman and LB. LB graduated. So that family, Gabe, his older brother, DeJuan, rest in peace. You know what I mean? He was a big part of those early years when we were just driving around, our bikes and going to house in Ambler. That's why I liked Ambler so much. It was such a good community to grow up in.
Yeah, I was talking with a classmate from our class, Yuka, who came from Texas, and he was so used to riding his BMX, and his family moved to Bluebell when they came to Wissahickon, and there were no places. And I said, "Well, did you ever hang out in Ambler?" He said, "No." And I said, "Well, that's like all we did was walk and ride our bike everywhere."
Yeah. Everywhere.
With friends, like you were just outside till the street light came on, and
exactly,
outside of Butler Pike. Once you got past Butler Pike, it was pretty safe to go anywhere you needed to go.
Yeah, and the crossover, and it's still so towny in there. To cross over Main Street, or Butler Pike, you're fine. At that age, and plus, we grew up, I think, in a different era, obviously. But I think it's still like that. I still have friends in there, and I think I would love to move back to Ambler, but I'm a country guy now.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's really changed in that I think they're moving in. I think a lot of people are moving out, and they're moving a lot of people in. I know a couple of people that have moved there recently, and man, the prices just sound crazy.
Crazy.
I just couldn't imagine. Like. I saw what when my dad died, I saw like what my parents paid for the house in South Ambler when we moved there. And it's just like, wow, it's like, it's like 1.5 that now in Ambler. So I just, money has, salaries haven't gone up, but
no, not that much, but it's just like any other town around here. I mean, Phoenixville's the same way, they're pushing everybody out, and their row homes are going for a lot more money. Royersford, same thing.
Yeah, I don't know about Royersford, but I know at least Phoenixville, right, has a pretty cool like main street there, and like we've got Butler Pike. And when we were growing up, like we had a few places that were open, but like not all the spots there were pristine. Like we didn't have all these restaurants. Like
no, DeTerra was not there.
No,
nothing. The newsstand. You had Candida's.
Yep.
I mean, that was Candida's. If you played a video game or had pizza, you went to Candida's. You drove your bike over to Candida's.
Yep.
The shoe store. I mean,
Regan's,
there's so many.
Well, right, because Regan's shoe store had that was the referee.
Yeah.
In basketball, Gator. Oh my God.
Gator.
Wow.
What a breakthrough. End the podcast. We're done. We found out his name. It's over. Gator. Oh my God.
Wow.
He did work at the shoe store. Oh my God. Steve Newman would be crying. DeJuan. Oh my God. I miss DeJuan so much, but he would be on the floor because I think DeJuan used to. I think DeJuan had a funny expression about him. I forget what it was, man. I have to call Steve when this is over.
Oh my God. So right, and Reagan's shoes also had the claw game that you played till you lost, or you played you played till you won. So you always you just go in and that was the spot.
Mm-hmm. And then before it was Rita's, that was a cheesesteak place.
It was seafood. It was seafood, right?
Seafood for a while. Yes. Yeah, seafood. Yep. Across the street was the pager guy who didn't have their first cell phone from the pager guy.
So then when you went to middle school, you got these friends. When you get to middle school, for you, I always talk about getting to middle school was a little different because I didn't have any of my friends from the neighborhood in my pods.
Yeah.
Did you have those friends in the pods?
Middle school was an interesting experience because I wasn't into sports at that point. So I didn't play anything really. And so I only had those groups. I think when I got into sports in 8th grade, 7th, 8th grade, a little bit in 7th grade, that's when I started to, remember, getting close to people like Eric Payne was on my baseball team and those type people.
What were you into then if you weren't into sports as a kid? Like talk about, were you just playing in the neighborhood with friends?
Exactly. Yeah, playing in the neighborhood with friends. We played sports growing up from 3rd grade on.
Right. When you mentioned like Pickering, I'm sure Knights Park, right? You go down through that stuff, and that's the prime area. That's where we always wanted. Like I would hang out at Alex Mader's as a kid, and he was on Mattison Avenue, and we would always hop over to Pickering Field, play baseball or whatever in the summertime. Yeah. When you get to high school, I always talk about I don't know, for you, with your grade, I'm not as familiar, but I'm assuming it's the same type of stuff, especially there's a lot of brothers and in your group of friends and all that. And even people from my class and, their brothers and sisters in your class as well. But I always felt like there was a kind of this advanced mentality as far as dating and partying. And of course you listen to podcasts, so I wasn't in any of that world. Where did you fall in that realm?
I think it was cool in that realm. Growing up, I was hanging out with Shay and Gabe and DeJuan and Steve and Larissa, who was Steve Newman's sister. So I was always hanging out with a little bit older of a crowd. So when I was in 8th, 9th grade, I felt like I did a little bit of that in 9th grade especially, and then everything changed around 10th grade when I started playing sports heavy. I was playing, baseball, basketball, and football. I only played basketball 1 year because I wasn't that good. As simple as that. But, playing football really. And then, when you join a sports team, the jocks meet up with the preppy kids. And that's when everything starts to get to intermingled, where you start to meet other people, especially, like you said, brothers. So just being friends with Eric Payne, his sister Becky Payne, so we get to know that side, all those girls, and relationships. You're trying to, at that age, you're moving forward. You're all eyes are on one prize,
Some.
And that's some. But that's just your age, man. I mean, that's what you're after. You're dating, and I don't remember drinking or smoking or anything, doing that too early, but I don't remember when I really started.
When you mention like, you know, when I look at like the people that you hang out with now, or when I look at some of the pictures of the people you interact with on Facebook and like some of the people that I remember, like I look at them as like, I don't know, cool kids. But what I'm learning, of course, is that there's so many levels of like, you know, popularity and like people who I may have all considered cool kids didn't all like each other, didn't all hang out with each other, but the groups all kind of, you know, you even named, you know, between just the people in Ambler who just all happened to go to Wissahickon, and then just other people from around, whether it was sports or what have you. Can't believe I just used that phrase.
What happened?
It's a lot of friends and whatnot and so forth. You know, that's a lot of guys that you named, and you know, I do look at, you know, some of them, I guess, like kind of bro-y maybe. But do you look at it as like, do you think of yourself as like you were in like a popular kid crowd?
I don't think so. I really don't. I wouldn't say that. I would hope not. I really wouldn't, because I would, my hope was, and still to this day, I think even when I was that age, is that like, I don't care who you are, I'm going to be your friend, you know? And I never, cause I think when I was younger, when I was in Shady Grove and early middle school, I was kind of dorky. No one knew who I was, and it was me and Steve Newman, and like that was really it. And like, so I kind of felt that cool kid, not cool kid thing. And I think as I grew up through high school, I was like, I'm not going to be like that. And I hope I wasn't too, you know. I hope there's no one sitting listening and is like, oh, that guy was an asshole. You know, I hope my goal would be that no one feels that way, you know.
I'm asking you to pull like a random thing out of, you know, that may not even exist out of your memory that you may not have, but like, do you feel like you were confronted with things like, with situations like that where you could have where you're consciously saying, I choose not to be that type of person, or I choose not to laugh at that, or do you remember like actually consciously thinking about stuff like that?
Not necessarily I wouldn't say acting on it, because I don't think I was brave enough at that time to act on it, but I wouldn't do those things that other people would do, make fun of, things like that. I never was about that. Like I love making fun of my friends. Like it's a passion of mine. I love busting stones and busting balls, but not to people that you're not friends with. And, you know, nothing malicious, I think, would be the word to use.
Were you, did you work once you got into like high school?
Yeah, I was working since I was 13. So I worked at Axe Lifetime Retirement Community, Springhouse Estates. So my mom worked there. And so I got a job as a dishwasher you know, as soon as you're allowed to get your work papers. And I think it was 13 or 14. I think it was early. So I worked there. I mean, that was my first job, and I haven't stopped since. You know, so, you know, I liked working there. It was a good experience. It's fun.
How long did you do that? What's your second job?
Man, you got a long enough time. I don't know if you have enough time to go through all my jobs, but
not your third or your fourth. I'm just curious. I'm just curious, like when you're that age, like what was like your kind of like roundabout of the suburb jobs? So I only did one pretty much the entire time. I worked at Wawa the entire time.
No way.
I worked at McDonald's out in Drescher for 8 months. And the day I turned 16, I quit and I left and I went to Wawa because they paid $6 an hour.
Yeah, it's so much money.
It was like crazy, and you get discount on like hoagies and I love, who didn't love Wawa hoagies? So
then you need to have the like
ironic.
Is there an old Wawa logo? Like, I don't think was the bird always on top? I think it was just like block letters, right?
Yeah. They have a few different variations. I have like a few different hats and different styles. And
so I went from, you know, in that Axe retirement, I cooked, I served, I dishwashed, I did it all for
you moved around.
Bunch of years. I think I was there till right around when I turned 18, because then when I turned 18, I went to the drafting room in Springhouse. I was young. I was very young. And then I stayed at the drafting room for many years.
So did you work with Chrissy Shuck and Leslie Weber?
Yes.
That's funny. All right, we're putting a nice little drafting room crew together.
Oh my God. Me and Steve talked 2.5 hours on the way home from Florida. I'll tell you about Florida, going down there to get a truck. But we talked about the drafting room from maybe 3 hours.
Wow.
Of like, so the drafting room is a culinary institution. I'm not kidding you when I say that. There is at least 10 chefs that have come out of that kitchen that are either business owners running their own kitchens, you know, uber successful culinary people have come out of that place. It was that good of a restaurant and well run that is literally a culinary institution. Many fond memories from that place. And you know, I turned 21 there, so like I had my 21st birthday party, and you know, the gag gifts you get from restaurant people. I got a blow up doll, I got a case of Schmitz, I got all the gag gifts you get. Schmitz, yeah. But drafting room was, you know, some of the best times I had in my life was drafting room, no question about it.
I mean, you can't talk about the drafting room without again talking about the brunch. And
brunch. Oh my God.
The French toast.
The French toast. And the brunch, you're right. The brunch was by far, I mean, you had JP out there cooking omelets for you. In later years, it was Jimmy Jam was out there cooking omelets for you. Jimmy Jam. It was a culinary. I mean, you know, Devin Trow. Who other was taking? Eric Fenstermacher worked there. Oh man, so many people came through that place.
Bethlehem Pike, man. That was a strip. I mean, my Wawa was right down the road. That beverage distributor was right down the street from there. There were a few spots. The Pike was
Taste of Italy
down there. Taste of Italy, yeah, where Joe Bombertito worked.
Yeah, that's right, Joe Bombertito. The best was the restaurant experience. I go in there at 18, and I'm surrounded by alcoholics, crazy people that party all night.
That's the restaurant business.
It was nuts. And so I got into that lifestyle like right away, right when I turned 18, you know, right when I was done high school. I was trying to work every day, all day, because it was fun. It was so much fun at that point. You'd work 55 hours and, you know, you're done at 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night. What do? You drink and hang out with your restaurant friends. There's nothing else to do at that point. And so that was an awesome life experience between what I learned about cooking, which is nice, and just how hard that business was, and how the customer service, and you know, how you got to treat your employees, and you know, respecting immigrants and things like that you know, I don't think a lot of other jobs offer you.
Yeah, a lot of diversity.
Yeah, for sure.
And in high school, did you have a favorite class, favorite teacher?
Oh man, what was her name? I knew you were going to ask me this, and I had her name. Mrs. McCracken, English teacher.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
It's going to surprise everybody. Well, Mr. Dixon. I mean, Mr. Dixon was the man. Like he was all around great guy. So he still is. You know, Mr. Stokes. I love Mr. Stokes. He was a good person. He still is. I saw him at a baseball thing a couple years ago. That was really awesome to see him. But I think Miss McCracken, she did a lot for me. She kind of laid down the law for me when I was a little, probably more immature than I should have been in 11th or 12th grade. Yeah. And, you know, she kind of set me straight for a semester or two. And
How were you immature?
Not doing my work, not keeping my grades up, acting out in class, probably, you know.
It's funny. Like that. I had a similar moment with Miss McCracken also, where my senior year, where I wasn't doing my work, and I had I remember having like a come clean moment where I had to tell my mom. I said, "Mom, I don't know if I'm going to pass English. Like, I haven't been doing my shit." And I was kind of like in a don't care mode. I think I'm remembering this correctly. And we had to my mom had to get in contact with her and be like, all right, what's he have to do to get his shit together? And I had to get my shit together. And that was with Miss McCracken's class. Yeah.
I think we had the same experience with her. Maybe she did that for a lot of kids, because I think I had to turn in, I think there are themes at that point. Yeah. 2 or 3 themes to pass her class. And she was like, well, and I think that what I liked about her, I was, who did it with me? Somebody volunteered to help me write the themes after class. and she like sat there and helped us.
A teacher or a student?
A student. I forget. Maybe Jess Mast. It was Jess Mast or Leanne. Oh man, I forget. But it was, and she let me turn in those 3 papers, and I wrote them in like an hour after class or after that school day one day.
Wow.
And she just kind of laid down the law. And then ever since then, you know, we had a couple months left, and she was awesome, and, you know, nothing but positive and a great person. Seeing her at the football games, she used to do the sidelines. We used to have great conversations when I was, you know, kind of fresh out of high school.
Yeah, yeah. With like your group of friends, were your friends like, were your friends getting good grades? Were your friends making plans for college? What was kind of like what was the making of your group as far as like students academically?
It was a mix. It was probably like 50-50, like Steve Pileggi, Susan, you know, Pileggi now, Susan Mozart back then, you know, Becky, Jill Payne, Jill Kavanaugh back then, you know, all those people were planning to go somewhere, Bloomsburg, or, you know, all the popular ones that, you know, Bloomsburg,
state school,
Penn State, you know, College of New Jersey, Becky went to, Delaware, you know, all those state schools around us, that they were all going somewhere. And my head was buried in the restaurant business. And I was like, well, let's see what happens. And so they were kind of moving on real quick, but my grades were never good enough. I mean, I probably could have got into some low-end schools and, you know, done the whole Monco route thing, but I was making really good money at 18 years old working at the drafting room. So I like kind of dived into that.
So before you went to the drafting room and before you were at Axe, when you were like a kid, what did you have like a dream job or something you wanted to do growing up?
I think sports. I think it was something with sports. I was so sports heavy for those many years that I don't think I thought about very much more and hanging out and, you know, nothing that far ahead. I was never a visionary in that sense. I never thought like that. It was kind of like, what's next? You know, what are we going to do next? Basically, not 6 months from now, but what are we doing tomorrow? How are we going to have fun tomorrow?
Did you ever like, I don't know, flirt with anything in high school that you thought, you know, did you ever like take computer graphics and think like, oh, I'm good at this. Maybe I should do this. Maybe I can make money doing it. Like, was there anything that you ever kind of like flirted with that you thought maybe I should do this and you just didn't really follow through or see it?
I think it was Mr. Dixon's class, the CAD program where you were designing houses and things like that with that CAD 1, CAD 2 that we were. But I never took anything. I loved it. I really did. But I just never applied myself. I never learned, you know, I never sat down. Like, I don't necessarily read books now, but I listen to a lot of books. And that, you know, I was never a good reader. I never liked reading in public. I was never good at reading. I was excellent at math and science, you know? And so Audible books now, I love listening to it. When I'm working, I love it. I think it's good for everybody. You should, you know, if you're not doing it, you should do it. But back then I didn't care, man. It was just like you said, it's like this weird, I don't care mode. And like, I didn't have any plans for my future at all in those years. And as soon as I hit the restaurant business, it was over. Well, there was definitely no plans at that point.
Did you ever have discussions with your mom as far as like what her expectations were for you? In like, did you ever have that you should be going to college? I think I'm expecting you to go to college, or was it whatever you want to, whatever makes you happy?
Yeah, it's whatever makes you happy. It really was. She knew I was really, when I started, I really got passionate about the culinary industry, and I was doing things, and she thought, and I both thought that, hey, that's probably a good path. And then after a year, I was 19, I decided to try college. And so I went to college for 1 year to Thaddeus Stevens College of Technology in Lancaster, PA, right near Millersville.
Okay.
So did that for a year.
Did you move out there?
Yeah, I lived out there for the whole year. I mean, that's the funny part. I was living out there, you know, Monday through Friday, coming home Friday night, working in the restaurant business, Friday night rush, Saturday all day, Sunday brunch, go home. And I did that for the entire year, maybe a couple weekends off, but that was my routine. And I went with, Eric Payne was up there doing auto body. Brian Finnegan was up there doing plumbing. So that I had a connection up there. I was like, let's go try it. It was a very cheap technical school. I think it was like $8,000 for the year. It wasn't crazy. And I went up there for cabinetry to build, cabinetry, interior design, furniture construction, things like that. And I got into it and I was like, this is terrible. This is not what I want to do. Like everything was like down to the 32nd of an inch. The first project they gave us was you had to make a 2x2 block and it has to be perfectly square. And they say the only catch is you can't use any power tools. So you had to like chisel it and like scrape it and sand it and he'd take out this goddamn electric to test the 90-degree angle.
Yeah.
And it'd be like, you're off 1/78th. And you're like, oh no, you get a D. You failed. It was I hated it from the beginning. It was so meticulous and it's just not my style. And then the restaurant business just took over from there.
So you're doing this for 1 year. What are you thinking while you're doing this as the year's coming up? Because you don't go back.
No, I don't go back. I don't think I was the one. I don't think I was invited back. My grades
because you got a D.
I got a D and I was pissed.
Yeah.
And I think towards the end of the year, I knew I wasn't going to do good. And I was like, just forget it. And I think it was one of those, you weren't thinking through. I should have probably just tried to stick through and applied myself more, but I just didn't enjoy it. I knew it wasn't going to be something I'm going to do every day. So I did it for a year and I got a D. I got like a 68 and that wasn't passing in the tech school. It was 70 or above. And I just didn't go back.
Did you ever have the option? Did you ever think about going to tech school when you was a Hicken?
Yeah, I thought about it because Steve went to tech school. He went for culinary. A lot of our friends went for, a couple different things. And I thought about it, but that was a weird dynamic too. The people or the kind of kids that went to tech school were, I don't know. A lot of Ambler kids went to tech school. So there's a demographic there of the Bluebell kids compared to the Ambler kids, And I think that I was probably trying to stay out of something at that young age.
So you thought you were like, it was too labeling?
Yeah, I was like, I didn't want to be a plumber, man. I didn't want to be a plumber. I was going to go to college and, I was going to do this or that. And, but, my grades were never good by any means. So, going into 11th, 12th grade, I don't think I thought I was going to go to, Penn State or something like that.
Did you want to? Did you like?
I did. Because football, I played all positions, but, I was the kicker too. And I was damn good at being a kicker and a punter. And so I got letters from Pitt. I got letters from Slippery Rock out there that really wanted me, and like University of Delaware. And like, and it's a shame, you think back on that. And at that point, when I was getting those letters, it was almost too late. That I wish I would have. I always think that I wish I would have really applied myself and got good grades, just because of that. That's a huge advantage for colleges. But then you look back and you say, I don't know. There's a lot of people that didn't go to college that are super successful, and there's a lot of people that went to college that aren't. So, it's really like how you look at life and how you're brought up in your work ethic.
Yeah, and what your goals are for success. What defines success for you?
Yeah, because it's there's a lot of people out there and a lot of people in my industry that want 1 million customers with $100 million in revenue, and but there's other guys that, hey, I got one guy working for me and that's enough revenue to make me happy. So,
yeah.
I have 2 young kids now. I got a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. So I don't know where I'm going to push them. Do I push them to college, or do I push them into a trade? Or, it's a weird scenario. I'm not totally sold on college as the answer.
You said 10th grade is when you started doing sports?
10th. Yep. 10th grade. I played, basketball, baseball, and football. 11th grade, I played baseball, football. 12th grade, I played football.
So what changed that what changed? Was there not enough competition in the neighborhood? What changed that you started actually doing sports with school?
I think because just all the friends, like Fenstermacher was really into baseball. I was always really into baseball, and I never really I played in, I guess I played baseball basically every year. 7th, 8th, 9th. Yeah, up to 11th grade I played baseball.
Okay.
But I don't think I was good enough. I probably, if I applied, I was okay. I was a middle of the road baseball player. I don't think I would have got too much playing time senior year. But football was different because football, no one came out in Wissahickon when we graduated 2000. We must have had 28 guys come out or 40 guys come out to field a whole football team. Yeah. Everybody was playing soccer and basketball. All the athletes were playing soccer. They were winning. They were going to the States. We didn't win a game. We lost every single game my senior year. It was terrible. It's heartbreaking.
I talked about this with Tom Beal.
Oh my God!
I think they had like won 1 or 2. Was there? I mean, you talked about Slippery Rock and some of these schools that had reached out. I asked Tom, was it frustrating to be on a team that wasn't winning when he wanted to go to college for sports at the time, when you did it the whole way through? Was there clearly you thought about maybe I can go to college for football? Was that a frustrating, besides just the no one's even coming out to help us, No,
I think what I thought was that it would be fun to play college football. That would be a fun experience.
Yeah.
And that's what drove me to be good at all aspects of football. Cause I was like, oh my God, can you imagine playing at Pitt Stadium? Can you imagine playing at University of Delaware? That would be an awesome experience. I mean, I played football at Thaddeus Stevens College of Technology. We were a JUCO school. We played Bloomsburg's JV team. We played the deaf team from DC. I forget the name of their college. We played all the other JUCO schools in the area, and that was fun. I mean, it was fun. We got to play college football for a year.
Yeah.
Do you remember Doc Doyle? Doc Doyle. He was the sports education teacher.
No.
Okay.
No. From high school?
Yeah, high school. Doc.
No, I'm thinking
maybe
of Mr.
It's science though.
I'm thinking of Mr. Lomedy.
No, Mr. Lomedy. Yeah. Who were the 2 math teachers? Sabia. Mike and Warren.
Yeah. I think one of them we don't like to talk about anymore.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Some of these teachers make it on the no-fly zone.
Oh.
Not you can talk about whoever you want, but I mean,
yeah.
I just mean in the fact that some of them go beyond praise with some of their actions. So
yeah, for sure.
That's just my disclaimer to people when they go, oh yeah, I wonder what happened to him. That's just my disclaimer to them to let you know, not good things. He didn't turn out great.
Yeah.
I'm using my serious voice.
Yeah, do you have, just listening to you, do you do any voiceover work?
Yeah, I do movie phone, and I do no. I did radio in college, so I did shit like this kind of.
Where'd you go to school?
So I did. I got my associates at Monco.
Okay.
And then I went to Temple and finished it there.
Nice. Yeah. Temple's a great school.
But like you, I for me in high school, I had no clue what I wanted to do. And I remember, people asking me, and I think maybe in the high school newspaper, and I can imagine people asking me hey, where are you going next year when they're going to sign my yearbook? Because they all wrote good luck in whatever you decide to do. Because they probably asked me, hey, where are you going? And I go, I don't know. Because I didn't really even
Monco.
Yeah, I guess I didn't even want to say that. I didn't want to say Monco. You talk about the stigma of tech school. There was a stigma of Monco. And,
for sure.
And I didn't want to admit that I was going to be that kid that went to Monco.
Yeah.
And where am I? It was
were your grades good though? Were you doing well in school?
I mean, I told you that story where I thought I was going to fail English class. I probably ended up with like a C or a B. I was a BC. I was a BC student in everything except for like math and chorus. Everything else, you know, those were like A's, but everything else was like a BC territory. Science, you know, science was usually a C. History was a B. English was an A or a B. I was a good writer, but I wasn't good at like reading. I hated reading. I hated assigned reading.
Assigned reading was tough.
Yeah. So very similar, you know, and just not doing stuff and being bored with things, you know, like just not being able to pay attention and just, you know, it was just hit and miss from every class to every class. I would have a different attention span, a different mindset, and you just never knew how I was going to take a class or a subject or the year.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're a big hip hop head, so was music a driving force in the early college years at Monco? Was that something you were like, oh, I want to get into this music production? You know, was that something you were into? I don't specifically, but one of the things I remember about you is that you were like a fucking encyclopedia when it came to hip hop, and I think you still are, you know. And that's like a passion of yours. So when I think of you, when I always think of Brad, I remember seeing you at PJ's a bunch of times. And I remember you in, you know, slightly in the young years, but those middle years, I just remember you being a hip hop head and being able to talk to anybody about hip hop.
Yeah. I mean, I've always been a rap fan. But I was just like a radio rap fan. That's how I grew up. Like whatever was on Q102. I didn't even listen to Power 99. I wasn't even that type of rap fan. I didn't like Wu-Tang Clan. They didn't have any choruses in their songs. Like it was just all verse. It was 6 verses. Like I just wasn't. I liked Hip Hop Hooray and Criss Cross and Positive K and the softer shit like Shanice and Jade and you know,
Fugees
I like, you know, Fugees were cool, and then I love like Diddy and I have like a bit of like an obsessive like personality where like when I'm into something, I'm really into something. I can remember like me and my buddy Ray like listening to Tupac do Hit 'Em Up and him being like, you know, fuck the East Side, you know, ride with the West Side because you and I both know it's the best side or whatever. Can't remember what the exact line is, but and I'm just like, no, fuck that East Side, and like wanting to get like a theme of East Coast City t-shirts. Like I want something that says like Tampa Bay and like all up and down the East Coast so people know I'm East Coast. And you know, like I was very into that, but it wasn't until I got really big with the internet and downloading songs off of Napster. And there was this website. It still exists, I'm pretty sure. It's called ULA, Original Hip Hop Lyrics Archive.com. And this was like the first really, really extensive library of rap lyrics on the internet that I'd ever seen. This was like 1999, 2000.
Yeah.
And so Napster, LimeWire, whatever, Kazaa, whatever was the hot thing at the time was out. And these songs, they would just post whatever new lyrics they just put up today. And they would just put like 40 to 50 different lyrics of songs up. Some would be brand new songs that have just come out. And some would be every song from Ice-T. And so I would just whatever, they uploaded this, and this. Okay. And I would search, that would give me songs to search. And all of a sudden I'm like listening to like, you know, just like shit I'd never ever, you know.
Yeah, like Raekwon or like, you know, one of those.
Not even like Brother Lynch Hung and Slim Calhoun.
See, you're that's Spanish to me. Yeah.
Dude, like I'm, you know, just like this, I guess like underground stuff.
Yeah.
But I think like most like real big hip hop heads would know. But then there's stuff like beyond that I just never knew. But at Monco, I started my sophomore year. I was a film major. I was a communications major, but I was always video focused. But I started going to Monco Radio, or it was called WRFM then. I was doing the radio station there. I signed up to be a wrestling host, to host a wrestling show.
What? What do you mean? Like what that Monka was putting on, or
I was like going to host a show about wrestling on the radio show where I talk about wrestling like every week. I was going to be like, it was like me and my buddy like this, like it's us in the studio and I'm like this. And I'm just like, yo, it's the Red Shirt Playa. You're listening to WRFM. It's the Red Shirt Playa and the who. That was my co-host name. And it was just me and my buddy. And we're just talking about here's what happened on Raw. Here's the inside scoop. Here's all the news. And then we were going down to a wrestling show down in South Philly every month that Jasmine St. Clair, remember her?
No.
Porn star.
No. Sorry.
So she ran a wrestling company. It's a good fake. I know you know who she is. She's running like a wrestling company, and they were running in Philly every month. And so we were bringing friends down, and we bring like 15 people down to come down to the show. And she's like, hey, you brought all these people? I'm like, yeah. And 15 people at 15 a pop, we're bringing like a good amount of money in of people that are coming and drinking and partying and stuff. So she was like, hey, I'd love to work something out. So we would always bring people down, and she would get me and my friend in every month for free. And we'd bring like a crew of people, and she would tell us what matches she was having. We promoted on our show. We'd bring all these college kids down. And that was kind of like my foray into doing radio in any type of I was 19. I didn't even drink. I wasn't even drinking.
I was,
So that was kind of how it started. But at the same time, I was always doing like video and film and all that stuff. And I was always and so while I'm there, I wasn't doing like a rap show, but I learned about college radio and that there are all these other artists that are bubbling that don't promote to the major market radio stations. They promote specifically to college radio, and that there's, CMJ, College Music Journal, that charts college artists and college bands or whatever. And like from hip hop perspective, that there's these artists that like at the most popular at the time were like Jurassic 5 or Outkast was like the very, very most popular of like college music type of artist. But like,
was that to create, did the artist do that on purpose to create buzz in the younger communities?
Exactly, because there's no room on Power 99's not going to play
Ram Squad.
Not even Ram. Yeah, I guess Ram Squad would be in that. But that's the thing, right? Ram Squad's doing freestyles for Cosmic Kev, right? How many songs is Power 99 playing for Ram Squad on the radio at 2:00 in the afternoon? But who will play music like that or artists like that are college kids who are getting special attention. Hey, we're sending you, this 19-year-old kid, free CDs. How about concert tickets? You want to go see? I used to see, Killer Mike and LP Run the Jewels. I was seeing LP. LP ran one of those record companies with a bunch of artists that are still rapping today, of just like underground college radio heavy artists. And I used to see that dude fucking 15 years ago at the First Unitarian Church.
Yeah.
So like that's so that's like a guy that that's like the type of artist that you used to see back then, but it gave me this whole new world of like music that I never knew about.
Was seeing the lyrics, because you're a word guy, did seeing those lyrics change your perspective on rap music? It just cleared everything up?
I think I used it more just like a catalog. Not so much of like I'm gonna download the song and I'm gonna rap the lyrics to the. There are some songs like that, right? Like Bombs Over Baghdad. You got to try and see if you can keep up or whatever. There's songs like that have come out that you're just like, I wonder if I can do this. It was just really more of like a cataloging, and I think that's where I get like kind of like I have a very articulate iTunes playlist of like Chris, I'm telling you, it's sick. Tens of thousands of songs. I still operate like this. I still download MP3s because I don't like those radio stations that curate music for you. Oh, you listen to this song with Nelly, so now we think you want every soft ass rap song that we got. It's like, no, I don't want to. I don't like all Young Thug songs.
Are you categorize? Are you one of those guys that categorizes everything and it's all perfectly laid out? So if you need to find a song, you're like, that's in folder C8. on the left-hand side?
So it's iTunes. So I'm going like this because I'm looking at it right now. But it's like I have like every field filled out, right? Title, artist, album,
you would hate to see my
genre, year. But see,
yeah,
it's helpful. It's helpful because I can make like these what's called smart playlists. This is so nerdy. I'm going to completely cut this out of the fucking podcast.
Wait,
but
let me finish. Yeah. I have playlists too.
Yeah.
I make playlists. They're all called playlists. I never change the name. So the only way I know the difference between the playlists is that I see the pictures of the 4 albums that are on that playlist. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, I know that one, and that's the one I pick. I'm terrible at it, but I just thought.
So that's how this is how I've always operated, right? Download the songs. I used to make CDs. I keep the booklet in my car, and I knew all like every CD kind of like I had Hot Mix 1, Hot Mix 2, all the way to Hot Mix 10. I had, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like Club Brad, and I still operate like that. I put playlists out on like Spotify for people to just like, I have like 20 fucking playlists of just hip hop songs for people to listen to at the gym, just aggressive hip hop music. I love curating music for moods.
Yeah. Yeah.
While we were talking about music, that kind of, leads me to one of the funny things that I remember that you probably don't even know. So there's this time when I was in high school, and I can't place what grade you would have been in. It's possible you were in 10th grade. That's my guess. But you were driving. You had a car.
11th grade there.
So 11th grade. Yep. And I was scheduled to go to a wrestling show with Brian Clayton.
Yes.
And Leon Osowski. Do you know what this is?
No, but I remember I'm getting warmer, I feel like.
Brian Clayton and Leon Osowski, the 3 of us were supposed to go to this wrestling show at the Wells Fargo Center. And it's like, the show's at like 5:00 and it's like 2, 3:00. No one's heard from Brian. And finally Leon calls me. He's like, yo, Brian called. His car is like shut down, broke down. We can't, he had the Big Blue or something. He called her.
Yeah. Big Blue.
It was like a Ford Taurus or something like that. It was.
I can't remember.
It was.
I remember he had an SUV and that was beat up too, but I don't remember the little car. But so he it's broken down and I'm like, so we're not going. He's like, yeah, we're not going, dude. I'm like, oh fuck. Like 10 minutes later, they're ringing my buzzer. And I'm like, hello. He's like, hey, we're downstairs. And I come downstairs and it's Brian and Leon in your car. No.
Yes, in your car. And you apparently lent your car to Brian Clayton for the day so we could drive down to wrestling down in the city. You had like
lovely.
You had like Equalizer in your dash.
Oh my God. Was it a Buick Regal?
I think it was not. It like felt cool to me. I don't know. I was like 14. I was like 15.
Oh, an Acura Legend.
That sounds more like
a white Acura Legend
with all the little knobs, right?
Oh my God, the Acura Legend. Yeah. That was a sweet ride, man. I was so cool. Till I crashed that thing.
It was a cool car.
It was. It had a CD. It had a CD player in the console.
Yeah.
Automatic, everything. Oh man, that rode like a dream. That was a nice car. I still am friends with Brian Clayton to this day. I see him. He lives half an hour from me. His mom helps my mom watch the kids. Yeah, we're still real close.
Brian and Harold Gant and Smalls. Were part of like that group of kids, the seniors, I guess, when I was a freshman that were like all into wrestling, and we would hang out and watch wrestling together.
Yeah. Smalls was into, and him and Harold were like, 2 peas in a pod for a long time. And, Brian was part of that. And, Will Clayton was down there, and Miles Timbers and all those guys, and James Wise, Moo, all those, you're making me think of all these friends, from high school. All these people that like, I haven't seen in years. I mean, I say, you see Miles on Facebook, you see, a lot. I mean, and that's why Facebook's weird. It's like, I don't know, you like, or you do something with a post, but would you say hello to him at the bar or from across the way?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say now because now I'm the Wissahickon guy. So now I would say,
yeah,
right?
You have to.
Yeah.
Do you want to interview?
But yeah, I think, and that's why that was one of the reasons why I started the podcast, because I would see these people out and it was like, and I would say hi, and we didn't have anything of substance to talk about because we never had a relationship to begin with.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, think about now, if I were to run into you at the bar, how much more we could talk about now just in the, hour that we've been talking, how much more now we could actually talk about versus, if this was 2 years ago, I don't have a clue what I would talk to you about. I would drunkenly tell you, oh, dude, I fucking was in your car this one time.
That was awesome, man.
Yeah, the switches. Yeah, the switches, man.
Equalizers, man.
And you would be like, what the fuck? And maybe a month later, you're like, oh, the Acura. Brad Corbett, dude. Like, he was fucked up.
He was fucked up, man. That guy's funny. He's got a good beard, though. I love his beard. He's got a great beard. I'm so jealous of his beard every time I see it. Damn it. That's what I'd be saying.
Thanks, dude.
Oh, man. Yeah, it's funny. It's funny. But yeah, I mean, high school is interesting, man. It was fun. I'd give anything to go back just so I would apply myself.
What was your world like in school? Was it, did you have like conflicts? Was it easy sailing? What kind of what was your life like in school?
It was pretty easy. No, nothing major happened in those times, and I did just enough to pass to get through the next level. Just enough to get to the next. I passed math, I passed English, I passed history, and like I said, I looked for the next day, and I never looked forward, never thought to myself, I should do good in school so I can go to a really good college and continue with that. I just never thought that far ahead. And I still don't think I think that far ahead. I'm a visionary when it comes to my business now because I have to be, but I still enjoy the day-to-day grind more than I enjoy seeing what I can do next.
Interesting. Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah. But business, you have to be a visionary. You got to see what you got to make sure you get what's coming.
I'm I'm in the very beginning stages of all that, as far as doing my own stuff. And one of the hardest part is not just thinking about today. Yeah. That is the hardest part for me, is when today finally happens and I go, fuck, I should have 3 days ago. I wish that was written down on my pad and I had thought about that. And I just started doing that a little bit now, because I hate that I'm doing it right now, what it feels like the last minute,
Yeah. It's but because I came from a company that does the same thing that I do, it allowed me to know what I needed to do to be successful, and then all I had to do was throw my flair on everything, how I want to run my business, how I want to treat my employees, how I want to pay my employees, what kind of products I want to put down, what kind of products I want to use. So that was an advantage that I had for sure. It was almost, I'll be 40 this year. So it was almost an epiphany I had a couple years ago. I have the knowledge, I have the energy still. How can I spin this my way and make a business out of it? And that's what that's where I went with it. I just jump one day.
So there was a point in my life, I can't even think, maybe a decade ago, where I was doing nothing, nothing. I had done WWE. I had gone to California. I had tried to get a feel for what I need to do. I didn't really have a clue. It felt like you had to kind of bullshit, and it was, even at that, it felt like it was a crapshoot in just maybe or maybe not. There didn't seem to be a path where you can take this, and that's how I like to operate. Right, here's the path you take. At the end of that path, here are your options. Right, I don't like to operate on so much it's not in my control. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
You're right. That's tough for me. So I did the LA thing and hated that. Came back, just wasn't sure what I was going to do. And I was at this point where I had to figure it the fuck out, because approaching 30 or was 30. And I had to, I had to start I had to continue my life. I couldn't stop life because I didn't know what I was going to do with myself. I went to a job fair, and I remember looking around the job fair, and the only guy that was at the table that was still at his table was a lawn care company.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And they're dying. We're dying for good employees.
And I remember him giving me his card or whatever and talking to me and asking me well, so what are you doing? And it's at this point I was 5 years out of college, maybe more. And it's well, I was a film major, and I tried my hand at writing and doing TV, or I went to LA. I didn't really like it. And he's oh, well, here's a job. Here's a great job with you work and you get yourself off the benefits. And here's the thing. And and I just remember thinking, I can't do this job.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say that was the lowest point. I don't want to be over dramatic about it, but from thinking about what could I do? How can I apply myself? What are the things? And here being offered what everyone should want as far as security, right? I just want a place where I can go, I can work, I can apply myself, and I can, support myself and live.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, I can't do this. It was mostly an ego thing. I couldn't get over my own shit to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And for me, that's such a hard moment in my life, honestly, to get past that. I felt like that I had the nerve to feel like that. And that, man, if things hadn't if I hadn't figured it out, how much I would look back on that opportunity and kick myself for not trying something.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny you say that, because when I got into lawn care, I tried lawn care. It wasn't I was drawn to making grass green. That's not how it worked. And it was me being burnt out from the restaurant business and not being able to work nights and weekends, and, pretty serious girlfriend, my wife now, never saw her. She was in the restaurant business. So it was just a very hectic time frame for me, and just barely scraping by. It wasn't like I was making a ton of money. That was a ton of money when I was 18 and when I was 19 and 20. But when I started taking credit cards out and wanting to move out and buy a nice car and everything else, then you look at that salary I was making at 28, 30 years old, oh my God, how did I live on that? And so I got to a breaking point where I just didn't want to do nights and weekends. And I was I want to do something outside. I like being outside. I hate being inside. I've been inside my whole life. I don't do anything outside. And so, not my whole life, but my whole work career.
Yeah.
And so I just answered a Craigslist ad for Scott's Lawn Care. And I haven't really looked back since. I had a brief moment in between jobs where I went back to a restaurant to help a buddy open it. But besides that, I mean, I would never go back, and, hopefully I won't have to.
When you're working the restaurant business, and at this point now you've done the cabinetry. You've been in the restaurant now. You're pretty much your entire childhood, up until you're past that. That the college wasn't for you, at least that version of it. So when you're, for me, again, when I'm at this point when it's when I went to this job fair, it was I knew I had nothing going on. For me, it felt like this, fuck, for you, when you're doing this and you're burned out and you're thinking lawn care, what's your thought when you're thinking, okay, Scott's Lawn Care?
The same thing that guy offered you: 401k, benefits, able to move up in the company, 9 to 5 job, or 6 to 2, really, with the lawn care side of it. But it was just an opportunity. The restaurant, there was no 401k. There's barely any medical benefits. I worked my way. Restaurant, I was everything. I was a line cook. I was a dishwasher. I was a sous chef. I made it all the way up to restaurant. I was running a restaurant called Blue Sky Cafe in East Norton. I was the GM for that place, and I was 25 years old, and I ran a restaurant. So you think I had everything figured out. I was going to be in the restaurant business. I had a passion for it. And then I think it got sour when I got real serious with my wife, and we were like settling down a little bit, maybe looking at to rent a home together, or rent a house together, or something, whatever it was. And we both were like, we just don't want to work all these hours. If we ever plan to have a family, how would we ever do it? Like, it would just not work. And it's not a good lifestyle. It's not healthy for you. There's a ton of reasons. And you have to be, if you're into the restaurant, you have to be into it. You have to be passionate about it. You have to be on top of your game all the time. And it's a hard business to make money in. The profit margins are, I always tell people, every dollar you spend at a restaurant, the restaurant makes about 3 cents, if that, and that's a crazy amount of money when you compare other businesses and profit margins.
Were you engaged, or were you just dating? And you said you wanted to get a house.
No, we're married, I think, at that point when I switched careers to Scott's.
Okay.
So we had our own place, a condo in East Narton.
And what's your wife's name?
Michelle.
So was the whole plan like, let's ride this out at Scott's, and career-wise, like, let's get into this 401k, let's get like a plan going, let's like get like a I don't know what the secure salary.
Yeah. And I think the way I looked at Scott's was, I'm like a grinder, and I just go for stuff, and I'll dive into something just like you. It's very similar. Like, I don't get obsessed with things, but I grind. Like, I don't mind grinding, and I don't mind learning. And so I think when I was at Scott's, it was an opportunity to try something different. But once I got there, I really enjoyed it because there was a lot of freedom. There was opportunity to move up. There's management. There was a company ladder. You could move up to this position. After being there, I think it was just a chance, just taking a chance on place. And then after being there for a little bit, I realized I liked it. And hey, why not just grind as hard as I can, try to be a manager, try to grow and maybe lead people? Because I've always, in the restaurant, I had employees, I had waitresses, I had bartenders, I did all the scheduling. So I thought I had a really good idea of how to communicate well with customers and how to lead people. So I thought, with all those characteristics, maybe I can move up in this business. And that's what happened. And
that's what I thought maybe I could do with Wawa. I was at Wawa till 2007. So
wow.
I thought that's what I thought, like, because I went into corporate after college, and I thought like, oh, I've got like, I'm a college graduate. I've been in the stores for like 7-8 years. I've got like now this corporate experience. I'm like the perfect model. And then it just didn't pan out that way. So, but like that was, it's funny. Like just that was my exact, I thought, this fits, I know how to do this.
Yeah. I don't mind this.
Set to do this. Yeah. I don't mind this. I like, it's so comfortable. I know I speak it so well at this point.
You've learned the business. You know the business inside and out. Yeah. It's a very comfortable feeling.
It really was. And I really did at the time. I was a few years. I graduated in 2006, so I was 2 years, a year and a half out of college by the time I left. But at that point, I thought this is a great fucking like step. Like, here I go. I'm gonna be the Mr. Wawa.
Hey, I'm gonna be that guy. That's good stuff. That's crazy. I mean, you were there when they were like, not a little store. They were never. I mean, but you were there when they went to like, they went to Super Wawas, right? That was the big.
I was there before there were gas stores. I was there back when, like, I like to say, I just started releasing rap songs, and I've got Wawa references in them. I've got a line where I say, I was writing hot rhymes about exotic coffee grinds at 16 in Springhouse back when gum was a dime. So you think, how long ago was gum 10 cents? That's how long ago I was working at Wawa.
You were probably like this. This is what I always talk about when people, they always ask you from out of town, oh, how's the Wawa? And I say, listen, if you were to go to Wawa back in 1998,
right,
that's Wawa. That's what I grew up on. Right. It was a fresh Amoroso roll delivered that morning.
Yeah,
it was sliced. Now it was very proportionate. I'm not saying it like was an overflowing
hand
hoagie,
sliced,
but it was hand
all the
sliced
meat,
right.
all the meat except for the ham. Everything except for ham was hand sliced. The turkey and the cheese. The cheese was usually in a thing, but even like provolone like Swiss, we had to do ourselves.
And
like
you could buy meat.
Right, you could order like bologna, Munster cheese, hot pepper cheese, liverwurst, Neptune salad, egg salad. We scooped all that shit and sold it. Before there were computers, we used to actually have to write the register code on the carbon copy slip.
The killer shakes, Rosenberger's iced tea. I mean, there's so many great.
I worked at Wawa back when they used to sell Strombolis. You remember the Wawa Bolies? There was the steak one, which was like steak and peppers. There was like a pepperoni one, and then there was like a third type. I can't remember what it was, but it might have been sausage and cheese. But it took 17 minutes to cook. So, but it only had like a shelf life of like 45 minutes. So you had to throw it out like at the top of the hour. You always had to throw it out, and if you didn't have another one made, you're gonna have to wait 20 minutes till it's done. Like, come on. Before That's bagels, awesome. I worked there before they sold bagel sizzlies.
Wow. Yeah, no sizzlies.
So, all this to say, I knew Wawa really, really well. And I worked in a lot of different locations. That by the time I graduated, I had been at the Shore stores. I'd been at at a gas store in Philly. Like I'd been around Wawa a lot, so I felt like I knew it. And I felt like, oh yeah, here we go. And I think that really was part of like, so I went to work at WWE after that. That was like an accident. It was a joke, and it was a Hail Mary, and it worked, and I just kept riding it. And then they were like, sure, why don't you just come move out there? Little known fact. It's March 3rd. This is the, I don't know, 13-year anniversary when I started at WWE today. So that's fucking crazy. But like when I went to WWE, that wasn't a plan.
What did you said it was a Hail Mary. It was like, hey, you should just try it, Brad. Go for this application, and you threw it out there and went for it.
My buddy that I was doing that Monco radio that I done the Monco radio show with years prior had gotten the number off the internet of the headquarters of WWE, and he gives me the number and he says, hey, call. He says, I called and I asked for Vince McMahon. They hung up on me. You should call, give it a try, just to fuck with them. So I called on my last day with Wawa. So Wawa was going to send me, I was working in corporate, and they were closing down my division. They were going to send me back to the store. They were going to get rid of my salary. They were going to put me on an hourly wage. I was like, fuck that. I just graduated college. I'm not going back to the store. I'm not going back to hourly wage. I said, I'll take unemployment. My last day leaving corporate office, I'm on 476, and I call the WWE number that my buddy had given me. And I go, let me talk to Vince McMahon. This girl, she's still my friend to this day, Kristen. She, for some reason, she goes, we don't do that. And I go, well, how do I get a job there? She says, you have to apply for a job. And I go, I have applied for jobs. I actually had because I was a film student at Temple. I had applied for jobs for like, I'd love to come up for the summer or whatever. She goes, hold, please. I'm thinking at some point they're going to cut me off, hang up. She puts me through to HR.
Okay.
This dude picks up. I'm on 476, Chris. I just like told Wawa I'm going to take unemployment rather than finding a store to go to.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I want a job there. And he goes, well, you got to apply. And I goes, I have applied. The guy's like, what's your name? He looks me up. He goes, oh yeah, I see you've applied like 3 times. And he goes, tell you what, why don't you send me an updated resume and we'll talk. So I send the guy a resume, and like a month or 2 later, maybe not even that long, he fucking writes me back and goes, hey, sorry it took so long. Why don't you watch this show tonight and then call me tomorrow? We'll talk wrestling. And so I call him like on a Tuesday. We talk about the show from the night before. And the whole time I'm thinking like I'm probably on speakerphone, and they're probably all laughing at me in the office. Like, this fucking Mark. So like, I just keep talking to this guy. And then like a month later, not even like 2 weeks later, he's like, all right, why don't, he goes, what do you think you'd want to do? Do you think you'd want to work in the studio do you think you'd want to like write for the news for the magazine, or do you think you'd want to travel and produce the shows with the writing team? And I go, well, I mean, I graduated from film school. I could do all of those, but ultimately I would love to work with the writing team. And he goes, great. We'll bring it up for an interview. That was around Thanksgiving. I want to say like that was around like Black Friday, 2007. I moved up there February 2008. I started March 3rd, 2008. And like 3 interviews later, that was going up to Stanford 3 times. I met people, had interviews, and then that was it. I was in.
Wow.
Just from like what started as a prank call coming home from
Yeah. I answered a silly Craigslist ad because I didn't want to work any more nights and weekends. Yeah. Very, very strange. Very strange.
So all that to say, that's not like anything I went to school for. That I didn't go to college so that I could go to Stanford and write wrestling. Like that wasn't my plan. So when I came back from WWE, I had no clue what I was like. Well, I didn't even know what I was even equipped to do. When you go out places and you go, oh, I want to work in Hollywood. And I go, oh, what's your experience? And you go, I worked at WWE. No one knows what the fuck that is.
No, not in Hollywood, right?
No. So would you write like punch, kick, punch, kick? Like, no, it was kick. It was kick, punch, asshole.
Yeah, asshole. Like, yeah. Come on, this is serious stuff.
When you go to the lawn care, did you feel like this was like I don't know, did you feel like it's got to be this, or did you feel like, if this doesn't work, I'll figure something else out?
I think I still to this day always think like if this business doesn't work out going into year 2, I could go be a chef somewhere. I could go be a chef. I'm maybe not a chef, but I could be a line cook at any half decent to great restaurants in the area. I could always fall back on the restaurant business without a doubt. And my previous company, I'm still great terms with them. I mean, we still don't work together per se, but we're in the same exact industry. We're in the same area per se. He's on this side, I'm on this side, but we have a great relationship. So I don't know. I don't live with any kind of fear of like what's going to happen next. It's, just keep grinding and doing what you know and what you love, and it'll all work out in the end.
What do you learn? What did you learn about business, about not necessarily about lawn care, but I guess about business in general that made you feel so confident that you could step out on your own?
So the previous owner that I worked for had a motor that I've never ever seen on anyone, and just the ability to be working and to be focused and to be driven and to be hungry all at the same time and make it happen. I've never seen anybody do that. And working under somebody like that made me like that to a certain extent, where, you see a lot of, hey, Chris, can you do this project or work on something, do this, do that? And he would come back 3 hours later and be like, Chris, how's that project? Is it done yet? Because that's how his mind worked. He said he would always think like, an employee needs to make a doctor's appointment. Oh, I'll make it tomorrow. No, call him right now, make an appointment, go miss work. I don't care if you miss the rest of the day, go get that doctor's appointment done. Then we're done with that. Or a truck flew off the road and we need a new truck. Okay, go buy a new truck. Or, there was never any fear or hesitation when it came to it. And procrastination is probably even a better word. Yeah. It was fun to work on.
It sounds like the exact opposite of me. When you say like I would go like, oh, when am I going to make an appointment? I can't.
Yeah.
It's not really convenient even this week. You know what? I think I'll think about it. And then maybe Monday I'll reassess when I think I should call again for this appointment. I'm a classic procrastinator.
And it's something that he taught me in business and just the business side of it, accounting, how to, cost per sale, how to market, why to market, when to market, how to, keep tabs and, keep Excel spreadsheets on your sales, where they were generated from, how much did you make off them, how to beat up a sales guy. Like there's 100 different sales guys that sell fertilizer in this area. It's who's going to bring me pizza, who's going to take me out, and who's going to give me the best price, who's going to come in and do speeches and train guys for me. And so he taught me all this about business that I never I was always fearful of. I never want to be like, oh, that sales guy was really nice, but his product is $13 more a pound or whatever it may be. And so he taught me that it's not about them, it's about you. Make them come to you, and do it the right way. Be friends with them. Spread the love. If you can get seed from this person, get chemicals from this person, get trucks from this person or whatever, keep a good relationship, but be firm with these people and be real with them. Hey, you want my business. You got to be personable. You got to come in and feed my staff because they're important to me too. You got to come in and do a face-to-face meeting and explain to me why your product is better and how we're going to make more money, that's where he taught me amazing, strides when it comes to how to run a business.
What was the spark for you to decide to go on your own path?
Just wanting to own my own business, wanting to be the boss. It's kind of like, sometimes that sounds bad when I say it out loud, wanting to be a boss, but I don't think it was wanting to be a boss. I like wanting the responsibility, having the freedom to grow it how I want to grow it, my design, my input, all that comes with it. That I was super excited about that.
Yeah.
And for the opportunity to provide for my family, without a doubt. I mean, if I continue to succeed and continue to do well, that clear path that we all talk about in high school when you're 17 years old to go to college, get a job, buy a big house. This gives me, I was doing really good there at the previous job, making good money, had a 401k, no complaints with that. But this gives me a clear path to, a little bit more wealth, a little bit more, things that I can provide for my family now that it's growing and it's getting bigger. And I want to spend more time with them when maybe not this first 10 years of owning this business, will I be able to spend more time with them? But the goal is when I'm 50, when I'm 55, 60, I'm not grinding like I did from 20 to 50 or 20 to 45. I want to find that. And I think I eventually saw myself that I could have made a great life for myself outside or at that previous job. But this gives me almost, I would call an independent life. I make up my own schedule. Jax, my son's going to play baseball. I don't want to have to worry about who I'm answering, who's taking my shift. And it probably would never be like that. And Andrew was a great boss and understand, I'm a quality of life guy, not only just working all the time. And he would have probably said, Chris, you can go to every baseball game. No, that's the kind of person he was, but I wanted that freedom for myself.
Right. You don't have to ask anyone now.
I don't have to ask anyone.
You just make the decision.
Yeah. And if it requires me, busting my ass for a week before or a week after, and I know I can manage that, but it's the decision. Like, perfect example is snow removal. So we used to do snow removal for the previous company, and I was up 30, 40, 50 hours at a time doing ice checks at 4 a.m. and
that's a tough gig,
especially with the kids, and their sleep schedule's off than mine. And I get home, I sleep all day. My wife's got both kids all day. It was not good. It's not good for your health. It wasn't good for anything. So this will also allow me to get out of that.
So did you date in high school?
A little bit. Yeah, Becky Payne.
Okay.
We dated for a little bit. Melissa DeBellis. We dated for a little bit. She had a little sister, Jackie DeBellis.
I don't know her.
Yeah.
Did you date? This is in my head. Did you date Julia Tryons?
I did. That was early.
It's weird that I know that about you.
Julia Tryons.
Okay. Where were you meeting like girls? What was for high school? I didn't date at all. So for you, like for dating in high school, what was that like?
The friend group. Yeah. It was like who we hung out with and all the girls that came along with that, I guess. And dating in high school was so weird because no one knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
You know, like you don't know how to be in a relationship, really. I mean, there's very few people that understand what love and the depths of a relationship, and it's more like the thing you do.
Right.
And you try it because everybody's
especially in the friend group.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was like, oh, we've hung out for this many years, and it's like, Steve Pileggi and Susan Mozart are married now.
Right.
The Pileggis, Eric Payne and Joe Kavanaugh, they're married now. So they made it, they weren't together ever in high school, but they got together after high school. But that was part of our friend group. And that was interesting. And
there's a lot from our class as well. I mean, handful, I get like 5 off the top of my head that it got together from Wissahickon, that started in Wissahickon, that finished off and got married and all that.
Still there. Yeah, Wissahickon was like, and it was, especially with girlfriends and girls and boys and like trying to figure that out as a young adult, like you look back and you're like, you didn't really date. Wissahickon wasn't one of those where a lot of people went to this prom or that prom because they met at this. Wissahickon was so small, as we're like a tight group of people, but not really.
One of my defense mechanisms about the prom, I didn't go to prom, and whenever like you didn't go to prom, and I go, no, I hate dressing up, I don't dance. And I go, and plus all the seniors date the freshmen, and the juniors date the sophomores, and there's no junior or senior prom. It's just a group prom all together. Like it's a school dance. Like that's how I rationalized it. But I wasn't wrong.
No, not at all. Not at all. Steve Newman didn't go to any proms either, and now that I look back on proms, I thought, what a ridiculous thing that is. Like it's
the prom.
The prom. It was so like.
Who'd you go to prom with?
Who'd I go to prom with? Julia, I guess, 10th grade. I think Melissa DeBellis, 11th grade. And I think Chrissy Berry, senior year.
You do like the whole limo thing? The whole crew gets the limo?
I think I wanted to rent a Jeep Wrangler, but I didn't read the whole thing, and I rented a Jeep Cherokee instead. And that's what Jeep Cherokees were like, the boxes.
Yeah.
They're not the ones, not a Grand Cherokee, just a Jeep Cherokee.
It's a Jeep.
Yeah, it's like
we used to call it a Jeep.
It's a Sierra like desert Jeep. It's like you're going on a with
the row bars and all that shit.
Oh man, it was not like, it was embarrassing. I thought it was a Jeep Wrangler, it would be cool, and I totally fucked that up, man. It was terrible. Yeah, prom. I mean, I remember Jen Modla. Remember Jen Modla?
The name sounds, the last name sounds completely familiar, but I can't picture a face.
Oh shoot, we got caught sneaking beer into her mom's basement through like one of those little windows that you see up in a basement.
Prom night.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was it? Was the after party just a house party?
Always.
Yeah.
Always a house party.
So was your crew were you guys partying in high school? I mean, you said 9th grade was kind of your dabble into kind of nefarious things, but were you in like a partying crew in general, or were you just so booed up that you were just doing couple shit?
Yeah, I think that's we were drinking. I don't remember. Like, that's a weird thought. I've always thought that, when did I start like having alcohol? But I don't know if it was before. I don't know. I really don't. Maybe around senior year, junior year, maybe. Probably junior year. We were probably sneaking beers, driving to Cheltenham to grab 40s or something like that. Everybody knows that story. Bud Ices, and like that's the only way we got drunk back then was Boone's Farm and Dog and all those. So it was an interesting, start to your alcohol. I mean, it's terrible stuff.
It's funny.
Terrible.
I told you some of my music stuff. For you, favorite artist or album in high school?
In high school. So I wouldn't consider myself a music person, but I love music. I love listening to music.
Yeah.
But my brain doesn't allow me to remember music. where other people, they're like an encyclopedia, a rap line, they can, this artist, that artist. I kind of like just like what I like. So I listen right now. I've listened to a lot of like Motown, a lot of oldies, a lot of like, Billy Joel, all that stuff. And when I was younger, because I was hanging out with Steve and DeJuan, of course I was into Wu-Tang and the Fugees and Life After Death when that came, like that was my CD when Life After Death came out. I was like, this is fire, and then you got Big Pun, I just downloaded the I'm thinking of the album with it's not the red one but the black.
Big Pun?
His face. Yeah, Big Pun.
Endangered Species?
No.
Yeah, Baby?
No, not Yeah, Baby. Because Yeah, Baby's the red cover.
Capital Punishment?
Capital Punishment. I just downloaded that one. I was like, wow. There's like 8 heaters on here.
Oh, that's the one with like that's the one where they do like the deep cover. They do Twins, the deep cover joint, and that's the hit. That's Don't Want to Be a Player.
Don't Want to Be a Player.
I like the Barry White version.
Yeah.
You're my darling.
Yeah, that's such a good one. Yeah, it's such a good song. But yeah, that was like, when my music has evolved. Like I couldn't name you the top 10 rappers right now. It wouldn't even come close to. I couldn't even name top 1. But so I still have that genre of music. I still love all that Wu-Tang, Nas, Illmatic, Stillmatic. Like I love, the Lost Tapes was great. I love Lost Tapes, So like I still have that weird. So you can I love playing my playlist like random, like just shuffle all my songs.
Yeah.
Me and Woodland would play this game because he listens to like hardcore Christian Woodland, hardcore rap, and he knows everything. He's like encyclopedia. So his iTunes is filled with all that.
Right.
Where my iTunes is filled with like Motown and Wu-Tang and all the old rappers we used to listen to. So we used to play this game, you got to take a drink, whoever's a better song. So we'd flip back and forth.
Okay.
Who has the best song. And so it used to be so much fun because we'd almost make playlists of like, oh, I remember that song. Now I remember this song. So we'd make a playlist and then we'd save it and we'd shoot each other. And that was that Friday night playlist. And it was a fucking awesome playlist because we just played off each other. So we tried to do it the other day, maybe 2 weeks ago. And since I have kids now, I have downloaded 25, I don't know, Disney, Aladdin, Lion King, Frozen. They're all on my phone now. So I can't play that game with Woodland anymore because he wins every time because, You're Welcome will come on from Moana, So
you got to get that Kids Bop's version of WAP. Did you have a favorite movie in high school?
The Lion King.
Really?
I still to this day, I'm obsessed with Lion King. I love it. I think it's the greatest movie ever.
So funny thing you mentioned, I used to always say that The Lion King is the last great animation that was ever made. Lion King is actually my favorite animated movie of all time, and I've never found anything else that's ever topped it.
Yeah. I mean, I think Aladdin was close. Aladdin was a great one. But as far as animated, even the newer, the Pixars and all those, even how great of a movie they are, I don't know. Maybe it's just this nostalgia growing.
Toy Story, and none of those. The Rock, whatever The Rock's doing, Princess and the Frog. It's cute. It's all very cute. You're not going to beat Scar killing his brother so he can be king and running off the son, who then comes back to avenge his father's death.
Exactly.
What a story! While Elton John fucking sings them on the way, you're just not going to beat that. That shit was a movement. I own Lion King 1.5. Do you?
No, I don't.
Do you know about Lion King 1.5?
I've now that you say it, I vaguely remember it being on a VHS, the white plastic, you pop it open
from Ambler Video. Yeah, sure.
Yes, and that's what I'm thinking of is the 1.5, and it was created by Disney, right? Like it was.
You're not thinking of 2, are you? Like Simba's Pride.
No.
1.5, yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't 1.5. It was 1/2.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So 1.5 is so the entire movie of The Lion King. The first half of the movie is, you know, Simba and all this, and then the second half he meets Timon and Pumbaa. But what happens all during The Lion King before Simba meets Timon and Pumbaa? What are Timon and Pumbaa doing? That's what Lion King 1.5 is. They're showing you Timon and Pumbaa going all throughout the jungle prior to Simba meeting them. So when they're all singing, when Simba's doing "I Just Can't Wait to Be King," like Timon and Pumbaa are going through like, oh shit, we just moved into the Broadway district.
Oh, like Hakuna Matata. They're figuring out Hakuna Matata.
Mm-hmm. Well, so Chris, this would be like normally the time probably that I would like pull out the yearbook and I would like look at your picture and your entry and all the different activities that you did. Funny thing is, I'm one of those students that never had like a yearbook from another class. Like a lot of students have yearbooks from like their 11th or 10th grade, or like I don't have any of those yearbooks. I did only the years I was leaving. That was it. So I have
like 8th grade and
I got my 8th grade. I got my 12th grade. I got my 5th grade.
Yeah.
From Shady Grove, but I don't have a 4th grade, nor do I have a 7th grade, nor do I have an 11th grade to show you.
Mm-hmm. You would need an 11th grade to show me.
Could you fake it and give me an idea of the initials that you would have put in your yearbook? Did you put initials, do you think, in your yearbook entry?
Yeah, you want me to go get it?
Oh my God, yes.
I have it.
Yes.
I know exactly where it is. It might take me 2-3 minutes, but
you got it. I'll pour a drink.
All right. There it goes. There's Brad. There's all these guys. Christopher Stoudt. There you go. So what do you want?
Let me see a picture. Can you hold it up to the...
This is terrible. Oh, will it not let me? It's not going to let me.
There you are.
There it is. Glasses, full head of hair. Yeah, man. Might have been a silk tie, just so we're all clear.
I gotta tell you look like our. Hold it there. You look like. Hold that picture there. You look like. You look like our generation's James Eckert.
James Eckert. I don't remember James Eckert. A little bit. That's hilarious.
I feel like if he had the glasses.
Maybe. I gotta beat this guy.
All right, what do you got in there?
All right, do you want to hear what it says?
Yeah.
Oh God, this is so embarrassing. But I'm gonna read it and I'm gonna love it. All right. So we got, I have struggled, I have failed, but I also have succeeded. It sounds like the beginning of a poem. Thanks to all the people who pulled me through it. Mom and Tim, I love you. Camo, which is Steve Newman, and Eastside, thanks for always being there. Melissa D, so that's Melissa DeBellis, Steve P, Steve Pileggi, Eric Payne, Danny Cabalella, Becky Payne, Susan Motzer. And to all the preps and jocks, it's been a fun 4 years.
Who are the preps and the jocks? What are the preps? The jocks, I guess, are the football players and the baseball players, and
yeah, it was because I think it was pretty.
Well, you did all the sports. Yeah. I mean, you do have like a profile of a jock because you did up until senior year. You did sports like all seasons.
I would consider myself a jock. Like I would consider, yeah, for sure. Because I played sports and I hung out with all the sports guys and we were all into sports. You know, it was like. It was one of those things that changed my popularity too. It was like being like this young man that didn't really know where to fit in through Shady Grove and middle school to being in sports. All of a sudden, it's a confidence booster because if you're half decent at it and you're good, people recognize your name. You're on the football team. You know, you're wearing your football jersey. You're wearing your baseball jersey. Right. So like. It does build confidence, and you know that's one thing I like about the sports. And I think I was went from being pretty dorky to like somewhere in the middle of the classes that were in the high school days. Yeah. You know, and I think sports had a lot to do with that.
Okay, just sparked to me. I said Mr. Lyles. I think Mrs. Lyles was the principal. Mr. Riles was the custodian.
Yes,
and Mrs. basketball coach.
Mr. Riles, you're right. I knew that didn't sound right. Mr. Riles. I wonder if he's still alive. He was such a good man.
I think he passed maybe like a decade ago, if I have that right. Yeah. I feel like I saw it on Facebook. If people wanted to get in touch with you because they want to get their shit taken care of for their lawn, it's been fucking winter. People are sick.
It's brutal.
Yeah, it's been brutal. Their shit is like horrible. What's the process? How do they get in touch with you, and how do they like get their shit taken care of this spring?
The website's the easiest. StoutLawnCare.com. STOUT lawncare.com. That's the best way to get in touch with me. From that website, you can text me, you can call me, you can email me. So that's the best way. Facebook is at Stoudt Lawn Care PA. Instagram is Stout_lawn_care.com or Instagram at that. And it's really Facebook if you see me on Facebook. So funny story is that if you look at the business name, it's Stoudt, STOUT, lawncare.com, right?
I've noticed this.
And then my name is STOUDT.
Smart.
So there was a couple reasons why I did this. And one was that when you Google Stoudt, 90% of the Stouts spell it STOUT. Mm-hmm. The other reason was there is no other reason. I don't know why I did it. I don't have a great reason for doing it that way. And people always ask me, why did you do it that way? And I was like, I talked to this guy when I was first starting to think about doing this. He's like, just call it Stoudt Lawn Care. And I was like, I hate the goddamn D being in there because anytime I'm spelling something, I have to go STOU, D as in David, T as in Thomas, because no one puts the D in there, right? And so I was like, he's like, just call it Stoudt then. Don't even worry about the DT because it'll just cause you more problems in the end. And I was like, all right. So I just went with it. And it kind of, I don't know if it's backfired yet because when I started the business, I had such a good group of friends that really my website guy, he married Steve Pileggi's sister and he does my website. And the first thing he said to me after I launched the website and did Facebook and all that, he's like, I can't believe how many people are on your pages so quickly. He's like, I've never seen a page on Facebook go from 0 to 200 followers in 3 days. He's like, I've never seen that before. I've never seen that much traffic on your website in 2-day period. And he was like, it's all due to your group of friends that are sharing it and your family and the Steve Newman. Like I have like that group of friends, all the Steve Newman group of friends. Then I have all my high school friends, Brosnan and Eric Fenstermacher and all those guys. Mm-hmm. Then I have the core group, the Eric Paynes, the Steve Pileggi's, all those groups. Then I have my restaurant group. It was like, it just blew up. And so like the whole Stoudt thing was weird to everybody. It was like 200 messages. Like, why didn't you put the D in? I always say I can't give all my customers the D. So that's why I had to take it out.
Yeah, exactly. Like, isn't it so much better? You don't have to find a way to explain that.
It's so much
how to get to the website. Chris, this has been like so much fun, dude. This has been like
awesome time, man.
Yeah, man. I'm so glad you were able to do this. And like I said, that story of me going to the job fair sticks with me to this day. So when I saw that you were working in lawn care, and then when I just saw that you were progressing and building something for yourself and for your family through lawn care, and I just thought like, wow, I just wonder if 11 years ago, 12 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever it was, that I was looking and I was presented with this opportunity, my ego just wouldn't allow me. I just wonder what if I could have gotten over myself, what could have been at this point just in life in general. And I was so, for that reason, I was so curious of your journey of getting to that point. So, I'm so thankful that you were, willing to share that story with me.
Yeah, it's been fun. Even, when you contacted me a couple weeks ago just to do it, I was excited. Because like I said, when we started, is like that awkwardness is kind of something I thrive on now. Yeah. And it makes me, it kind of it makes me want to be a better communicator and listen better and learn from people and things like that. So like the idea was really cool. I really appreciate letting me promote my business too, Stoudt Lawn Care.
Absolutely. And for the record, awesome. So everyone knows, Chris did not ask me to come on this podcast to promote his business. I hit him up out of the complete fucking blue and was like, hey, I'd love to have you on the podcast. He was like, okay. Like, what were you thinking when I hit you up? You had to be like questioning what was going on, right?
No. Because I'm such in a marketing world, and I don't consider this marketing. Don't get me wrong. I'm not
no, it's okay. Yeah,
because I want to market my business. If I was still a chef, I would have done it. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah,
and so like when I saw you were doing it and it was flowing, and I was like, oh, that's a good idea. And I checked back like 2 months later, and I was like, oh my god, he has so many. I got to catch back up. I didn't even know you were like still going and being on top of it. And then I was at Steve Pledge's house the other day, and we were talking about it, and they were both thrilled to hear about it. And like, oh, that's so cool. You're gonna have fun. You're gonna talk about the girls you dated and like, all that stuff. I was talking to my wife earlier. Like, this is gonna be awkward for sure. I don't know what names I should say and I shouldn't say, and I'm gonna say something that's gonna get me in trouble for somebody, something. But it was an awesome experience, and I think it's a great concept. And
we grew up so close to each other and around so many of the same people. It felt so natural just having this conversation with you.
Yeah.
Even though we've never really had the conversation.
Us Ambler people.
Yes.
I'm telling you, it's this weird like Asbestos Hill, Candida's Pizza. We'll always battle. We always stick together, and there's always something to talk about when it comes to Ambler. Like there's always something. There's somebody, the east side, the west side, the south side of Ambler. Like it was a cool town to grow up, and that's why I love Wissahickon, because of the diversity in Wissahickon. It's like there's so many different nationalities and genres, and like it's so little, but you learn so much about who you are just from hanging out with those different pockets. And like, this podcast is just an extension of those podcasts. So my recommendation is to you is like, just pick some more 2000 classes.
Keep going.
And I'll get you more followers. We're gonna blow this up. And I think you got something here. And I think it's an awesome idea, and you're doing an awesome job. And you have the best radio voice I've heard in a long time. And if you want to do some voiceovers for Stoudt Lawn Care, I'll kick Steve Pledge to the curb, because your voice is way cooler than his voice.
I'm in.
Great.
Sorry, Steve.
Sorry, Steve.